Why are you here?
For manic depressive, what do you call it? Fly-up.
Fly-up? Yeah, so can you tell me a little bit about what happened prior to coming to the hospital?
I stopped eating and I stopped sleeping, and I got a little wiggy to my friends.
Wiggy? What do you mean by wiggy?
A little weird, a little free association, a little your basic manic flare-up.
Really? What specifically happened?
Well, let's see. I borrowed a friend's car, and I forgot to return it.
And what did you do with the car?
I drove around the town for a while, and I wasn't thinking about whose car it was. I was just looking at the scenery.
And what happened after that?
After that, I paled, and I realized that I had to bring it back, and I brought it back, and the friend wasn't happy. But that's not true. None of that is true, but it could be true.
Okay, so what is true? What actually happened?
I don't remember. I don't remember a goddamn thing.
Why not? Why don't you remember anything?
I don't know. My intelligence was at a low peak. First it was at a high peak, and I could remember all the French I spoke as a child, and then it was at a low peak.
What's the trouble with your memory?
15 pills a day.
And what sort of medications are you on now?
Now they've changed me to resveratrol and taken me off Tegretol.
So how much of that do you take?
I don't know how many milligrams. I haven't really figured it out yet.
Okay. Are you on any other medications?
I'm on resveratrol. I was on Klonopin. I was on what is the one for anxiety?
Ativan?
Yeah, Ativan. I'm on Tegretol now, lithium now, and resveratrol.
See, and what are all these medications for? I mean, I know you said you have manic depressive illness, but in your own mind specifically, what do the medications treat?
I don't know what they're for. I just take them. I don't even question them anymore. You don't have a choice about whether you take them or not, so what's the difference?
And how's your mood? How many times have you been in the hospital before?
8 or 9. No, I'd say 7 or 8. I'm not sure, but I'll tell you this. Every time I've gone in the hospital, I've lost my jobs.
I see. That must be terrible.
It is.
And how do you go about trying to, get a job back when you come out of the hospital?
Well, you don't. You just lose it.
I see. Now, when you've been in the hospital before, what are the usual reasons why you end up in the hospital? What seems to happen?
In the hospital?
Yeah, why do you have... What leads to being hospitalized? Is it always the same, or is it different every time?
It's always the same. I stop eating, I stop sleeping, and then very soon I get hallucinatory.
Really, what do you mean by hallucinatory?
Psychotic.
Okay, what sort of psychotic or hallucinatory experiences have you had?
Well, I did steal a car once. I thought it belonged to someone else. And they left the keys in the car at this public area, this person, so I took the car, and I had it for 3 days. So that what I said before that was fiction is partially fact, because that was a true experience of mine. And that was very, very bad experience for me. I had to go to court for that.
I see, but when you say hallucinatory, what do you mean? Do you hear voices or sort of start to see things that other people don't see?
Yeah, the whole 9 yards,
Well, can you tell me specifically what sort of hallucinatory experiences you've had?
No, I can't think of any at the moment.
Well, what sort of trouble have you gotten into before being hospitalized?
Well, once I ran naked home from a public area, like early in the morning when I lived in Syracuse.
What was going on then?
I had this manic episode, and I went up to the top of a water tower where I walked 3 times around the water tower because I felt I wasn't humble enough to enter the kingdom of God, and I cried. And I threw my very expensive watch at the doors of the water tower. And then I decided it was heaven on earth, and I ran home naked to my house at about 7 in the morning through the most rape area of the whole city, just about. But nothing happened to me.
I see. And how were you feeling at the time when you were doing that?
Exalted.
Hmm. You didn't have any perception of how dangerous that was?
No, and it wasn't dangerous for me. I ended up home very safely.
I see.
It was about 7 in the morning. I didn't see anybody except a car full of people.
Hmm. And can you tell me about your mood during these periods? Is it always very high before you come in the hospital?
Usually completely elated.
Hmm. And how long does that usually last?
Oh, it lasts between 2 weeks and a week, I'd say.
And
Maybe
then
3 weeks or 2 weeks, or I don't know. When I'm starting to get exalted, yeah.
I see. And then what happens after the couple of weeks of having an exalted mood? What happens to your mood then?
Sometimes it completely drops when it's time to leave.
And have you had trouble with being depressed for weeks at a time or days at a time?
Yes, I would say it's very difficult. It's very difficult when you're locked up. I look at the other people around me that don't have visitors like I do, and I don't know how they get through a day. Having visitors is the only thing that makes me happy.
Now, do you get depressed before you start to have the exalted mood, or is it after you have the exalted mood you get depressed later?
I get depressed at the end of my whole manic experience. When I've come out of it and I'm a normal person, I go home to my house and I sleep until 1 in the afternoon because I have sheer depression.
Mm-hmm. And when we get depressed, what's it like?
It's like having nothing in your life that's worth living for. And you sleep under your covers till 1 in the afternoon, or 2, or 3, and there's nothing to do.
I see. And does your appetite change during those periods?
No, I don't find that it changes, but doing nothing at all makes you, the amount that you eat lay heavy on your body.
But do you gain weight when you're depressed?
Yes, I think I do.
And how many times would you say you've been depressed in your whole life?
I would say many times, more than I could count, but probably, definitely at the end of almost all of my manic experiences, except this last one, and this one probably.
And how long does the depressed mood last?
3 months about, unless you're treated quickly with a mipramine or something. You really have to watch a person because manic and depressed are so interchangeable. That's the point, isn't it? Manic is a depressed mood disguised, and that's the point.